lesson here is for a business to succeed, it must be both viable and feasible. And I hope you now understand the difference. There are three things you're looking for when you're testing for viability. Do people want it? That's number one. Are people willing and able to pay for it? That's number two. Number three, can you make money from it? If a business idea cannot answer these three questions, there's going to be trouble. So let's go through them. Do people want it? Why is wanting important? Wanting is important because before people buy something, they have to want it first. Can you think of something you ever bought that you didn't want? It's possible, but it's very rare. Most things you pay for, you want it before you buy it. In fact, wanting is so much of a big deal that many times we buy things we don't need. Wanting is more powerful than needs. There are things we buy that we don't need, but we buy them because we want it, right? Look at, okay, I'm recording this on an iPhone. Do I need an iPhone? Maybe not. There are other phones that can do a solid job, other smartphones that can do a solid job. But the thing is, I want the iPhone. I don't need it, I want it. And there are many things we need, but we don't buy because we don't want it. Think about wills. Any sensible person should have a will because we don't know what day or time we're going to pass. We're going to die. So it means that everybody should have a will. But most people, including myself, don't have a will. Why? I can't bring myself to doing it. And it's surprising that educated people, exposed people who are supposed to have these things don't have them. It's not because they are not bright. The reason they don't want a will is because they don't want it. They need it. I need it. So very important. People have to want it. The second is people have to be willing and able to pay for it. Very important. There are things that people want, but they are not willing to pay for it or they are not able to pay for it. Let me give you an example. Email, WhatsApp. All of us want WhatsApp. We either use it for business or for personal communications and all that. But if WhatsApp asks you to pay for WhatsApp or your email provider asks you to pay for your email, how many people will pay for it? Some of us will pay. Some people will pay for email. But as long as there's an option for free email, people are more likely going to go for free email than to pay for email. So email and WhatsApp are examples of things that people want, but they are not willing to pay for it. Either because we have an entitlement attitude to it that this thing should be free, or we're already used to the fact that they are free. So we're not willing to pay for it. Able to pay for it. I'm sure you've seen luxury cars like your Ferrari, Aston Martin, and all those cars. Rolls Royce. Most people want a Rolls Royce. Most people want a private jet. Most people will be willing to buy a private jet, but they are not able. They cannot afford a private jet. So it's not as if you give them a private jet, they won't take. They will take a free private jet. If you bring down the price of a private jet to something they can afford, they are willing to pay for the private jet. But as it currently stands at this price point, they are willing to pay for the private jet, but they are not able to because they cannot afford a private jet. So you need to understand these elements. The third part is, can you make money from it? And by money, I don't mean there's sales. Sales is how much you charge for it. Your price. If this thing costs $100 and people pay me $100 for it, what it means is I've made a sale of $100. But that's not the kind of money I'm talking about. Is it going to be profitable? Because if a business is not profitable, it's only just going to be a matter of time before you get tired and leave that business. Because for many people, the reason they go into business is to get some kind of financial reward, whether it's a profit or something. So unless you have investor money or you're getting free access to capital to keep sponsoring the business, any business that is not profitable is not sustainable because you just keep eating into your capital and it's only a matter of time before you run out of money. So 3 very important questions to answer if you want to know if a business is going to be viable for you. Do people want what you're selling? And we're still going to go into how you can find these things out. Do people want what you're selling? Are people willing and able to buy that thing? Because sometimes you might provide a product or service that is important to people. They will tell you they will use it, but the moment you ask them for money, they tell you they're not willing to pay. What it means is that business is not going to be viable. For a business to be viable, people must want the thing you sell. People must be willing and able. Willingness backs the wanting. If you want something, you'll be willing to pay for it. Ability is a different thing. Ability is about purchasing power. I may want something, I may be willing to pay for it, but because I don't have the money, I'm not able to. It's a matter of purchasing power. So you need to be talking to the right market. If you have a good product, but you're talking to a market that cannot afford it, you don't have a viable business, right? And then, of course, the last element, the numbers have to make sense. This thing has to be profitable. People must be willing and able. Willingness backs the wanting. If you want something, you'll be willing to pay for it. Ability is a different thing. Ability is about purchasing power. I may want something, I may be willing to pay for it, but because I don't have the money, I'm not able to. It's a matter of purchasing power. So you need to be talking to the right market. If you have a good product, but you're talking to a market that cannot afford it, you don't have a viable business, right? And then, of course, the last element, the numbers have to make sense. This thing has to be profitable.